OpTic then versus the Ninjas, our first game of our mainstream here for our second day of the ESL Pro League Season 7. We're in Dallas, Texas. I'm your host, Machine, and we've got a lot of interesting stuff to go down and to analyze. Fortunately, I don't have to do it myself. That's a relief. You do have Jacob Pimp Vinegar and Chad Sponge Birchill, your resident Counter-Strike experts, used to pick up the mouse and keyboard, and now they talk about other people to be doing that. That was nearly there. That was going to be good. Other people with the mouse and keyboard. Now, I'll find a way. I'll jot it down. I'll come back. We'll refine it.
You can workshop it in the break.
Yeah, and then when we get to like the playoffs, I'll try again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get a couple lines I float out. I wait for tweets, and if I don't get anything, I'll reuse it.
No, it didn't bite. Okay. Right, we'll move away from lines and into maps. I want us to quickly start that conversation so we can actually understand where this map pool is going, because God knows we can't talk historically about OpTic. Jacob, this roster for the Ninjas in Pajamas, what have we seen them on? They played in, was it Inferno? I think that for best of one. Am I just tripping? Yeah.
NiP played Inferno, yeah.
Okay, so that's like NiP in terms of what they're going to be wanting to lean towards in this best of three. Is there anything at the top of your tip of your tongue?
I'm just going to be interested to see if OpTic are willing to gamble with Dust 2 in a scenario where they're the big underdogs. I would definitely leave it in if I were them and force them maybe to remove it as the first map and then put NiP in a kind of if situation. But the other way around, you know, maybe NiP is a little bit too scared of that and just removes Dust 2 straight away, which gives OpTic a little bit of an edge, you know, in the veto. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that works out.
I think the thing that dulls the edge is the fact that NiP basically play all the maps in the pool. Maybe not like very well, but they play them all right. So I think the fact of the matter is I wouldn't be gambling Dust 2. I'd be with the rest of the 6 and just see where it lies. Okay. I think we might get some brawly maps in there, considering NiP's map pool. They're now playing Mirage, things along those lines. Yeah. If you're a team like OpTic, Mirage could be a really good map, especially for a player like Config and Yugi on the AWP. I guess that works for any map, though, really, when we're talking about the scheme of things.
Well, we're going to start walking through those maps now. We can have a little closer look at how things are going. I'm a little surprised to see just how many matches the guys from OpTic have been struggling in. I was looking at their results. We'll walk through it in a second. So bye-bye Cash and NiP banning Nuke.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that OpTic, you know, in terms of, okay, so Snappy, sure, with Heroic, they played Nuke, but it's not a map that I think when you've come together as this roster, you've only had a little bit of practice. You've been playing in American leagues from Europe on plus 100 ping. Yeah. You know, it's not the best way to get your official practice in. Look, the Nuke ban, I guess it's just something that I want to risk, something that I don't even want to allow, and the D2 comes through, so maybe we'll see that one getting picked up here.
Yeah, I'd like to see OpTic go for the Dust 2 peak, just because they are the big underdog, you know, and maybe they have practiced it just a little bit. If I were OpTic, at least would judge a new lineup and lack of practice, you know, Dust 2 would be one of those maps that you would want to practice, so you had that one going into these best of 3 scenarios, and they don't do it.
Played it safe, okay. Yeah. Well, they've picked Mirage here. I think, you know, historically, NiP not a team to play this map, but ever since Rez and Draken have been on the roster, obviously Dennis coming in, this is something which they're not terrible on, right? They've got players who can definitely get work done.
They're not terrible, they're not good either, and that's probably why it's a great pick for OpTic, because they have the players at least to make this a dangerous map for NiP.
They've played 5 maps as a roster of 5.
And a lot of them have been from Europe to America, so they haven't really even had a chance to play officials and test themselves in that environment.
The 5 official matches we've seen OpTic play with this 5-man roster are Nuke, Inferno, Mirage, Inferno, Mirage. Take a look at it. Mirage, Inferno, the first 2 maps. So OpTic, a nice sigh of relief. At least they're playing some degree of a familiar territory.
I think the problem becomes when you look at this from an analytical standpoint, the sample size is so small, and what we have been able to witness has been like under the duress of not playing under optimal conditions. They have the talent here. I guess that's where the discussion goes, right? You talk about Cage and the closest man to the camera right now. He's kind of going to be the backbone of the team, the most experienced member. He's been around for a very long time, and I'm sure that he'll be a bit of the iron fist. You saw in the background the coach there, Casper. He was coaching in the past of the Danish roster North. He got the boot at the same time as Config and the rest of those guys did. He's lucky he found a job again so quickly. But the big names here have to be Config and Yugi being on the same team. That explosive potential of those 2 players, it's going to be hard for NiP to deal with, even though I have them as stark favorites in this matchup.
I mean, that's what's so crazy is if I'm being completely honest and not falling into any traps and footfalls, the roster looks like it could work. Like if you do the theory side of Counter-Strike, right, Jacob, you've got Cage and B, a reliable AWPer, and you need a reliable AWPer to counteract a crazy entry / config kind of presence. Then you've got Yugi, who will be the primary AWPer. You've got that nice secondary, reliable secondary. You've got he can rifle as well. Snappy, who's been praised as one of the stronger in-game leaders from Denmark, who hasn't been in a tier 1 team. Like, it all makes sense.
then come the big question mark. Gate, like what?
I mean, I don't know anything about it.
That's the thing. Like, and we don't do that either because he hasn't been playing Counter-Strike on a professional level for that long. He came from the North Academy team and then got a week of practice with the North main team whenever they were trying to acquire Cappy, and he was apparently doing well, which is why Cajun brought him with him to NA. And I don't really know what he stands for and what his role in this team is. He should be that support role. He should be basically the firm word for it is being the bitch of the team. But I don't see that happening right now. Honestly, Gate is a little bit all over the place, and that's what I think they can still work on. He may be maybe that X factor if that works out for them. That then could be a great team, as you said. But if not, then it's going to be a problem.
We're going to be jumping into Mirage. NiP stark favourites in this one. Maybe OpTic can surprise. We haven't seen a win from this roster, and now they step into their first best of 3. Maybe next time is now. Jason, take us in.
Yes, indeed. Kicking off the day, NiP versus OpTic, and we're all in our pajamas. We don't have to be on camera, so we get to wear our flannel PJ bottoms.
I'm very comfy.
Yeah,
so it's been
very
a good trip so far. So yeah, easing into an early morning game of Counter-Strike is always what we want.
Let's touch on your Australian brethren. We had a little discussion. You're feeling comfortable this morning. A little bit of jet lag, perhaps. Feeling a bit haggard, I guess.
Well, I did wake up at 3 a.m. So
yes.
I've been awake for what, almost 7 hours now, and I feel like that's probably going to be an issue for the Greyhound guys, which is obviously on the B stream as well. Renegades might be doing a little bit better because they've been sitting around in North America for a little longer. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. Yeah,
that's going to be rough. Either way, these two teams, NiP and OpTic, going to go head-to-head, and the loser obviously going home. So we always love to see tears from the players when they get eliminated. That's what we have on the table. Those are the stakes. Listen, when you do this many events, you have to get something that really motivates you. And for me, it's the sadness.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is probably a bit of an uphill battle really for OpTic Gaming, like we've talked about on the analyst desk there. We haven't seen much from this roster just yet. It's I guess another opportunity for them to present themselves, to show us what they've got. But really, with only 5 maps under their belt, this is a big task ahead of them up against an NiP that, quite frankly, they actually looked pretty good yesterday against SK.
And they've been looking better and better since Dennis joined this team. He's breathed a new life into the squad. Look at this fast pace. They want to challenge Dennis. They want to challenge the Pistol God, and not yet have they been punished. And actually, they're going to win that duel. Great frag from Config, and now they're splitting Catwalk and up Connector. NiP pressured from 2 different angles. Make that 3 as Yugi comes out of Palace to punish him. And that's going to be the pistol run securely in the favor of OpTic.
Yeah, well, that opening kill into mid really opens the map up quite a lot for OpTic Gaming, just able to get into everywhere that they would have wanted to. They were even into the B bomb site for a moment there, but they obviously opted to get the bomb down on A and now putting themselves in a 5v2 post plant. There's almost no chance that NiP can come away with a round victory here. Forest would have needed to start off with something pretty special there, but even now, time's pretty much running out, and it's a foregone conclusion really, a formality at this point, as OpTic will look to close things out.
This is one of those rounds that'll help wake you up in the morning as OpTic. They just keep that fast pace. There's always been that undertone, those conversations that we have with teams when you start these early games. A lot of teams prefer starting on that T side. You get to set the pace. You don't just fall asleep watching an angle. You get to increase the speed at your own choosing. And right there, it almost felt like Dennis maybe a bit overconfident, re-peeking multiple times in towards mid. But this was great from Yugi, a perfectly timed flank as soon as all the attention is brought away. And if you're NiP, you're playing 2 guys on Catwalk. You're fighting them from the B bomb site. You're fighting guys coming up Connector from the A bomb site, and communication is going everywhere. You don't know where the end game is for OpTic, and then you just get punished.
That's exactly what we saw. OpTic now with the first pistol round under their belt, feeling a bit confident. They've gotten already a little bit of control into mid, but it's being challenged a little bit right now by NiP, so still some work to be done by OpTic as they try and figure out what the play is here for round 2. Obviously, we've got the bomb over towards the B bomb side, and an immediate rotation or an immediate sort of recognition from NiP that there's something going on over this side of the map. They've already pushed the player out from the A site, and they've checked a lot of the angles, and they're already starting to wrap around the back here, and this is starting to look a little bit worrisome, actually, for OpTic Gaming, as a couple of kills go the way of NiP. Draken's still trying to hold on to that B bomb side, and if he finds another kill here, that's really bad news for OpTic. That's the bomb down as well, and in a 2v1, Config now needs to find his way out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, there's a flank coming in, and Get Right is just going to seal it. I thought Dennis might have given up the game a bit early, but he provides enough distraction. A great stack towards that B bomb site, and OpTic perhaps too fast, perhaps too much, just straight up marching into the bomb site. And they get punished from that. So a nice recovery from NiP. Losing the pistol, winning the second round. You've already put OpTic on the back foot. They're going to invest into this as well. Great job by Drake. And it is important to say, we watched the NiP match yesterday against against SK, I believe it was?
Yes,
I don't know. Yesterday was a long time ago. And it was guys like Rez who actually were the big impact players down the stretch. He had some phenomenal rounds. So these young players from NiP really growing into themselves in this roster.
Definitely something to keep an eye on, and I would agree. I think Rez was really the standout there, getting a couple of really important clutch rounds that ended up putting NiP through to that overtime. Obviously, they couldn't close it out in the end there, but definitely a good chance against OpTic Gaming in my mind in this matchup is NiP, and to start off with a sort of an antique or a force buy win like that really puts them on the right foot here despite not having won the pistol round. Now OpTic though, right into the A bomb side and starting to make some things happen here in round 3. That's a 1-for-1 trade. This grenade might do a big chunk of damage, and it does. Config goes down.
All of OpTic backing off now. Looks like they all want to wrap around towards mid and take 3 players. NiP surely would not expect 3 different players. Forrest might spot this first one depending on his timing. Yugi's going to stick around at A ramp. Here's going to be the first engagement. Snappy's got to go die. He's got to bait for Cage and B. They don't want him to spot 2, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Forrest now has the knowledge, but Yugi's got a headshot. He's got another kill, and defusing in the smoke is the last option for Draken, and it's not going to work. Yugi again with a big round, 3 kills, and somehow OpTic makes that work.
What a crazy game this has been so far. It's just backwards and forwards. We're going to see the force buy madness reign supreme there for OpTic. I wonder if NiP decides they want to force into this round. With the money they've got, probably unlikely, but geez, it's been a bit of a weird one so far, and I'm proven wrong once again.
I mean, it's tough to kind of make this call in the game, but obviously we say there wasn't very much of an initial defense on that A bomb site. A lot of ground given up from Get Right over towards Ticket Booth that allowed OpTic get that plant with relatively no damage done to him. So that was huge that OpTic's allowed to get that far forward so quickly. Another chance to respond here, though.
Yeah, Get Right. Well, he starts off nicely, but he will be traded down. Still not too bad out from him. Gets a lot of damage across to Gate and slows things down on this A bomb site. NiP very fast on the rotate across from the B bomb site now. With Dennis being dropped, that does open things up a little bit for OpTic Gaming. They started to stabilize a little bit here. This is where they now can start to claw ahead or claw their way forward in this matchup. NiP comes back with another round. We're back to Force by Madness again, but now OpTic should be able to reset NiP, and we'll see a little bit more normalcy.
It allows them to right the ship, doesn't it, now that they've been able to string 2 together. So no longer does that second round loss really haunt them too much as they recover. Draken not able to hit that initial deagle shot, and Rez with the scout trying to save that. They're both trying to keep these guns alive, and Config's not going to let that happen. And Config's always a fun one to talk about. You want to talk about a player in the server that could just take over. There's a couple on each team. I'd say Dennis is up there with one. We've obviously seen it from Force for many, many years. Then you go over to the OpTic side, and someone like Config is going to be a massive part of this puzzle. Yugi as well, when he gets the AWP out, can be a force of nature. So some dangerous elements on both sides, and for now, OpTic has the advantage.
I certainly think there's some promising signs for this OpTic roster. I mean, obviously, at this event, you know, we're not going to be expecting too much from them. They're a very new roster, but down the track, you know, 6 months, who knows what could happen for a team like this.
The big one is obviously, I think, Snappy coming in. Obviously, the headliners, as I just mentioned, Yugi and Config. Even Cajun's got a big name to himself, but Snappy as the in-game leader, I think is going to be the guy that might turn this around. And look at that nade. It's the Apocalypse in window. So much damage dealt by one AG grenade.
That's what you want to see when you're throwing out a grenade, isn't it? I mean, obviously they're not seeing it, but yeah, that's a lot of value for your money. And this is pretty straightforward, really, for OpTic. They've got the bomb down already on the A bomb side, and it's standard fare. Although, that's a nice shot hit by Forrest, just making sure that OpTic's not resting on their laurels too much, but NiP, they're not really expecting much out of this round. Obviously, they went for that little bit of a boost, or stack, rather, I should say, in mid. Yeah, and, you know, we see it fairly often nowadays. I like it, actually. I think it's kind of cool. It works every now and then. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those ways where you feel like you can get at least 1 kill if someone's just going to swing wide, feeling overconfident in their anti-eco, and maybe if you have some P250s, just a fortunate shot, you can get a couple players down, and then you have a chance to win the round. Just with the USPs, and obviously when the nade damage comes in, it's all over. Forrest just going to live, and actually I think one player went up with the bomb on the OpTic side, so they have to rebuy a 3rd weapon in that round. Yeah. Still a decent amount of money that they've built up in these wins. However, this is going to be the first challenge for them on the offense. Here's that nade. Snappy building up his ADR.
It's pretty much the perfect grenade. You couldn't have hoped for much more.
That had to have been over 300 damage with that one nade.
Yeah, yeah. It hit all 5 players for at least 50 or 60
40,
each. Yeah. Anyway, NiP with their first proper gun round here, and I say proper gun round, they are lacking a lot of utility. There's no armor on Draken either with that AWP. And right into mid, go OpTic Gaming, just completely decimating that hole from NiP. They continue on forward, and GetRight gets a very important double kill, actually, to slow things down. If OpTic continues that roll on forward, that's real problems from NiP.
GetRight reads the follow-up play as well. He knows another player is going to be taking over this A bomb site. That split so fast-paced, but you're right. That was a losing effort until GetRight gets that double kill. He really held the line. That flashbang doesn't buy Dennis enough time to spin and turn around and take a proper fight. Him and Forrest falling. And Snappy now has a minute to work with, just over a minute. So he can walk around the map, and actually Draken's not going to expect this whatsoever. GetRight did have the kind of idea that something was coming from A, but a lot of time has passed, and I don't think this angle is going to be considered by the NiP Opper.
Oh, that should just be the first kill, though, for Snappy. Well, he gets the job done, but he still needs to find 2 more. And now his position given away, that makes the job a lot more difficult. The easy yards have been done. It gets a little bit tougher from now on here for Snappy, as he needs to retrieve that bomb. But like you said, he has a lot of time to play with, so he can just take his time here. Actually playing quite quickly, and that's a great shot hit onto GetRight. Now into a 1v1. Doesn't necessarily suspect that Rez is so close underneath him. And NiP will come away with a round, but Snappy, he made him work for it.
And I mean, we say it all the time, every kill matters in that kind of scenario. The money is still not great for NiP, and even more critically is the AWP is not able to be recovered whatsoever. So really good job. As we saw Rez try and make that jump right at the end, he failed it, so not able to recover that weapon. Because of that, we're going to see the scout come out on Draken, and then GetRight's going to be stuck on the P90. That is a great transfer down on the gate.
Super impactful as well. P90 for GetRight. We'll see what he decides to do with this one.
There's a lot of matchmaking folks rejoicing at the moment.
I don't mind a little bit of the P90, mostly because I can't aim, but you know, we'll see what GetRight can get done here. If he plays aggressively, he might be able to catch OpTic off guard, and that's exactly what he's done, playing quite far forward toward Palace, but only able to find a single kill. And now the job rests on the shoulders of Dennis here. His teammates falling across the map, and unfortunately for NiP, he falls as well, as the A bomb site now cracked open by OpTic. 3 versus 2, bomb to go down. And NiP, this is a tough retake if they even decide to go for it. The one kit though on Rez gives them a little bit more time.
That'll be tough. They're going to need to kill quick, and I think actually they might even be choosing to just back off and save at the moment. Op still on the board over at A ramp, and here comes the flashbang. This might be their last effort to get a pick and maybe go for it after that. Rez has spotted one, but he's not committed quite yet. He knows he has to get that kill before he decides to commit, and without that frag, just backing away. Good decision. Keep the 2 rifles up. It's not going to be a whole lot for the next round, and OpTic is just blitzing NiP. This speed that they've come out with, the pace is... NiP's not able to handle it, at least for now.
Definitely has been a good start for OpTic. NiP, they'll be back onto another eco here. They do have those 2 safe guns through, but if OpTic continue this pace, like you said, I mean, NiP need to find a way to adapt to that. They have been sort of stacking mid a little bit. They've been playing aggressive over towards Palace, but aside from that, you know, we haven't seen too much else from NiP.
One of the big tools you can use is the Molotovs, is the counter flashbangs, is the nades, and that's probably the biggest part of this defense that they've been missing, that they've been lacking from that early exchange of winning the second round and losing the third. They haven't quite had that utility to slow some of these plays down. Some of the flashbangs they have thrown, the little that they've had, hasn't been effective. And again, we're going to see another... Not fast play, but it is a timing hit towards this A bomb site. 4 players for OpTic already lined up, 2 at ramp, 2 in Palace, and they're just waiting for that smoke to clear before they make their move.
Well, there's 1 M4 and 1 AK on either site, so at least NiP are as well defended as they could be on both sites. But the force buyout here from NiP as well. OpTic Gaming still need to be careful. Obviously, they're up 5 and 2. They've been doing well so far, but they drop around here and NiP's right back into things, and they've slowed things down a little bit as well.
This lurk from Snappy is huge. There's 1 AK-47 at the A bomb site. That's going to be on the stairs of the top connector. His only job is to kill that 1 player when they start hitting this site. Great shot from Config to open up. That's going to allow Snappy to start making his move. It's slow. He's being cautious, but he only needs that 1 kill to be impactful.
Draken has an opportunity for another one there. He needs to be having the impact with the AK, and he's so far been able to only get the 1 kill. Snappy, perfect timing though. Gets the 2 and the AK to upgrade it as well, and that really shuts the round down here for NiP. Dennis still hanging around close with the CZ, but seems unlikely he'll be able to get too much done, although probably shouldn't count him out after what we saw from him yesterday with his weapon. Not able to deny the bomb plant though, and again for OpTic Gaming, that's just another piece of the puzzle.
And they've got themselves in good positions as well to be able to close this out. 2 players down on ramp, Cajun in the sandwich as well. Snappy just watching over top of him to make sure that no one comes from above. And it's going to be an easy win from here. NiP not able to try and retake. I think Dennis just wants to stick around, try and get a rifle that maybe is dropped, but I don't think that's going to happen either. So back foot early for the Ninjas in an elimination series. They're going to be down 2-6. And they're fully invested into this round, so without a proper losing bonus, this is only the second round in a row that OpTic has won, so only $1,900 going over to NiP. Again, they're not going to have the money to invest.
This is the classic sort of CT side warm-up problem that you do end up having quite often when you start off on the CT side. NiP, they haven't really even had an opportunity to get into this match at all. They've so far had one proper gun round, really, and they're down 6-2.
And you go back to how hard that reset was. Remember, they won round 6. It was a 3-on-1, and Snappy was able to bring it into a 1-on-1. And that did so much damage to the money that NiP was able to have. So a huge win there, huge impactful kills for Snappy, even in a losing effort. And OpTic is starting to roll. They're starting to run away from this. Rez is going to get aggressive. The only rifle. He's found an opening kill. He's going to go back for more. This time, Cajun's ready. He does get dinked up, but it's a massive body. He's heading towards the B-bomb site.
And not too many players over here for NiP, though the rotation is coming across. Draken, that's an important kill. There's still a low HP player alive for OpTic, so this is still doable for NiP. And the headshot comes across as well onto Yugi. 2 versus 3, but 2 very low HP players for OpTic, and they slow things down, which is a wise decision. They have the wrap coming around the back. In the meanwhile, though, Dennis is still making things happen with that CZ. And if the player in market goes down, this could be all going wrong for OpTic Gaming.
OpTic doing everything they can to allow Snappy to have the time he needs. Dennis is going to rejoin with his teammate, and he's going to find the kill from behind. Great flank. Very quick decision to make. Look at Snappy now, going to jump up towards the van. He's going to turn the corner. Draken, he knows exactly where he is. An easy headshot, and Dennis is the only one left.
Yeah, but the positioning of the bomb here is really, really bad for Snappy with only a MAC-10 as well. At the very least, Dennis doesn't have any head armor here, but it's still a tough 1v1 here for him, as they both know each other's position, and Dennis will close it out. And that's just a crazy round out from NiP. I mean, OpTic, they just didn't quite bust out onto that B-bomb side as quickly as they needed to, and NiP was given the opportunities, they took them, and they hit their shots.
They got stopped pretty cold, didn't they? That push from Rez in the underpass to get that opening kill slowed things down, caused damage onto Cajun as well, and the pistols, even if they just get the 1 kill over towards that B-bomb site in that hallway, that kind of prevents OpTic from pushing forward. It was the Op who had to lead the way. It was Yugi after that, and just tough angles against those pistols for him to work with. A nice recovery from NiP, but they need to build upon it. Again, no money except for Draken, who's passed over the AWP, didn't have to invest in a weapon. Still not feeling solidified, but a chance to come back into this.
Yeah, the double AWP for NiP. We saw it a little bit yesterday, but not too much. Forrest starts off well to config as well. And that's, again, something that NiP really have been lacking quite a bit so far, is that opening pick. Typically, it's been OpTic quite quickly into mid or into the A-bomb site that have been able to find the first kill. But now OpTic fighting from behind, and we'll see how they can sort of deal with that kind of a pressure. And, I mean, it's not a lot of pressure, given they're up 6-3 right now. But NiP starting to make things happen here, and this is where you start to think for OpTic, okay, this might be our first half under a little bit of threat.
Forrest is starting to get a little bit more involved, a little bit more proactive, and GetRight's going to take the opportunity to push up, and that's an easy kill. A lurker takes advantage of the action on the other side of the map, finds a way to get aggressive, and there's Draken. Yugi didn't expect that peek whatsoever, and it's just down to Gade. 5 players surviving for NiP. It might not seem like much, but it is pretty important that they keep all 5 of these players alive.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of round NiP needs to get their way back into this half, get their CT economy rolling a little bit. There's a big bonus for them. Still down 6-4 though, so and OpTic have got a decent amount of rounds on the board here. If they even get one more, you'll be feeling pretty happy with how your T-side has gone there on Mirage. So NiP, they still have an uphill battle ahead of them, but now they at least have the tools that they need to work their way back into this map.
Small note as well, a cool little piece of teamwork. Draken is tagged up over towards that ladder room, and as he kind of hides away and rotates back towards the hole at the top of the ladder, he throws a flashbang out the window for Forrest to make that peek. It came out late, but you could see the idea coming to allow Forrest to be aggressive enough to help cover him, bail him out of a tough spot. OpTic, they started this game out with a blistering pace, and now that the economy has grown for NiP, they have all the nades, they have the double op. This might force them to slow down, and this is where you can see a new lineup really struggle. When you have those faster pace, it's a little bit more of playing intuition. You don't have to rely on some kind of preset teamwork and preset ideas. You kind of go with the flow, which is probably easier for these lineups to manage. Now that they have to slow down, that all changes.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're back onto the pistols as well. First time we'll see the eco out for OpTic Gaming in this half, and it's had a really good time for NiP as well. Again, just the opportunity to continue to put themselves in a very strong economic position heading into the late rounds of this half. And Draken, nice shot with the AWP. It's not looking like there's too many problems right now for NiP. I mean, obviously OpTic have sort of gotten a little bit of control of mid, but they can't do anything with it. There's too many crossfires set up right now for NiP, and they're just playing this anti-eco really, really well.
Get right once more. He wants to get involved in the action. He's got a kill onto Yugi. He knows he's got a huge advantage, so pressing the issue, and Cajun slowly lurking towards Palace. Get right once again wants to find the headshot onto Snappy, and now Cajun makes his play. It's a little bit too late to really have impact on the round. The most he can do is maybe pick up Get Right with low HP, and he does just that. He's gonna fall soon after. That's the 5th for NiP as they get closer. They claw themselves into striking distance to even up the scoreline.
Not a terrible really round out for OpTic, to be honest. I mean, they didn't really put any money into that at all, and they get a couple of kills out of it. So it does force the reinvestment from NiP, and their money's still not quite at a very dominant situation. So it's at least something to keep note of that could potentially play a part down the track. But into another gun round here, and this is another one where OpTic really could just stamp their mark on Mirage. Remember, this is their map pick, so up to 6 right now. They'll be wanting a little bit more out of their T side. It's going to be a good grenade, and oh, wow! Forrest spams down the first. Cajun dropped. Okay, gets taken down quite low as well. This aggression, this quick play out from OpTic, not quite working now that NiP, like you said, have got those utilities they can use to counteract that pace.
This is the same strategy they called on Pistol Round, and it's working once again. 2 towards Catwalk. Force did slow that portion down, but 2 coming up Connector. And 1 out of Palace was really, really painful. Bomb is stuck in mid, though. This is actually a little bit of a scary situation for OpTic, although Gate's handling it pretty well, all things considered. But there's Rez again. We said his name. Big impact player yesterday for the Ninjas. And he continues it here. He's given himself a chance in a 1 versus 2, but he's being flanked out, and Config is going to end this round. Rez has no idea it's coming. 7-5 now for OpTic.
Yeah, have to have a look at the money here for NiP. They do have enough for a buy through. Get Right will need a drop. But that might just be their last buy here. If they get reset again, I mean, OpTic's going to be barreling their way towards 10. Should be at least one more buy for NiP, but even still.
It's pretty telling that NiP struggles with the fast pace when you consider the fact that Forrest even stopped half of that attack. He got 1 kill on one of the players meant to go catwalk, and even slowed down the second player who had to kind of pause to take that fight, and they still get punished by it. This has been a very simple, a very basic T-sided half for OpTic, as you can kind of expect with pretty much a brand new lineup. But it's been effective.
Yeah, well, we're seeing something a little bit different now out from OpTic as well. The execute out onto the A-bomb site by the looks of things, which is not something they've showed us just yet. Smokes to come down, and we'll see if they can make this one work. In the sandwich is Get Right, but forced out. He's going to be turned to toast if he stays there too much longer. But Dennis opens things up quite nicely there for NiP. Still, Get Right can't get anything done. Just a little bit of damage, and really would have needed to see him get a frag here. Otherwise, OpTic just get control of that side. Snappy, though, the timing not going to work out well for him at all. And Forrest is coming up absolutely massive from the connector. 2 versus 4 as Cajun now needs to win this duel and does get the better of Forrest in the end. But still, the bomb is not yet down for OpTic, and still, the timer is working in the favor of NiP.
Well, that's a great flashbang. Yugi with a nice headshot onto Dennis, but I don't think they'll expect Rez to be here. And the bomb still has to make its way into the site. Draken holding a line with the AWP. Plenty of time for OpTic to hit the pause button and really make NiP sweat this one out. They're going to go for the plant. Where's the peak? Rez doesn't go for it whatsoever. Going to allow them to get the plant down. Low HP for Cajun, going to stay inside the bomb site. And Yugi's made his way back towards that A ramp.
Yeah, there's no utility to get Cajun out of that firebox either, and that's a great shot hit by Yugi. Now Draken, with the AWP, has to try and retake 2 versus 1. He does have a smoke. If he can get rid of Yugi, maybe he can put the smoke down and defuse on the bomb, but realistically speaking, with Cajun so close, it's almost impossible, and Cajun will close it out. OpTic up to 8. Another very good round out for them, and that resets the economy completely for NiP. They need to eco here. In fact, looks like they might force buy.
Well, I think at this scenario, I think NiP is just saying we'll rather take, two okay buys to try and get another round on the board before the end of the half, instead of giving up 1 and having a decent buy for the last round. Whatever it might be, actually, they're going to get a reset, as you said that. There was a misbuy coming in with F1. So 5-8, and yeah, OpTic really applying the pressure. NiP even starting to get that read on Snappy, flanking up connector late. Still not able to prevent the damage. And now NiP taking a timeout. This is dire straits for them here in this opening map.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like 5 rounds it's not the end of the world. If they only get 10-5 here, for example, for NiP, you know, you go into your second half, you can still make things happen on the T side of Mirage. It's not a hugely obscene map as far as CT versus T balance is concerned.
Well, and also part of the story of this map is or of this OpTic team is the fact that they are going to be a new squad coming in, and we've seen that. I mentioned this has been a very simplistic offensive side that's been effective in ways, mostly because they've had control of the economy for the majority of it. But when you switch over to the CT side, there's your own communication and coordination issues in rotating between these bomb sites. So this isn't going to be an easy map for them on the CT side. There's still a chance for NiP to be able to really run the table in a very similar fashion due to that inexperience of OpTic playing together on the defensive side of things.
Well, things, at least on the T side, on the offensive side, are not looking too bad right now for OpTic as they shut another round down. And so, in the end, it was the save, actually, for NiP. That was a misbuy, as you mentioned earlier. And so, they do get a good buy through here into the final round of the half. I mean, 9-6 for NiP. If they get to that, I mean, I would feel like they're probably not going to be too concerned. I think they'll be fairly happy given how this half has actually played out. OpTic have definitely been on top, but 6 rounds is not bad for NiP.
Especially in the context of their economy was ruined 2 or 3 times in this this half. They win the second round and lose the third, so they kind of had a chance to rebound and it gets taken away from them. So yeah, I mean, this could have been a much bigger disaster for NiP. They've done a good job of keeping it close and giving themselves an opportunity here. Forrest going to get in front of that flashbang. Config wasn't expecting that speed from Forrest, and he's going to go back for more. He wants to challenge. These are the fights he loves. Another headshot onto Gade. And that gives NiP a 3-man advantage now as GetRight gets aggressive in his own right.
Yeah, this is completely opposite to really what we've seen NiP do a lot throughout this CT side. Obviously, there have been a couple of those pushes through the underpass, but oh, what's going on there?
That's not great.
Oh, well, 4 versus 2. It's all right. 5v2 is better, but still.
Exactly what I'd expect out of Malfoy.
I mean, NiP, they haven't been too aggressive on their CT side so far. And that's just a bit of a change-up that OpTic, like you said, not really aware of, not really ready for, at least. And it's put them in a pretty precarious position now, 2 versus 4. They've been helped along a little bit. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Dennis does find that kill onto Snappy, and Yugi, the last alive here. NiP surely up to 6 momentarily. His position is known. He's got the bomb. So NiP, they don't need to be holding on to those sites anymore. Just rotate into mid here and get rid of him.
These are individual fights, though. You've got to be careful. Their flank coming in is great from GetRight, and he's going to finish things. Looked like Yugi was going to get one more chance out towards Catwalk, but it is denied. NiP claw themselves to 6, but that story is OpTic Gaming on the offense. Great, building themselves an early advantage with the economy, constantly resetting NiP twice in those first, 5-6 rounds of this map, and that gave them a big lead that NiP had to come back from, and they've given themselves enough to have a chance in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams have got a pretty good chance going into the second half of this map. Neither team should be feeling particularly disappointed by how things have gone, but this pistol round is going to tell us a lot. If we're up 12-6, that's a lot to come back from for NiP, but if NiP picks up the pistol, we're right back to square one, and it's really anyone's game from that point.
Look at the scores on the NiP side of things. 11 on Draken, 10 on GetRight, Dennis, and Forrest, and then 7 on Rez, but that's all pretty close. That's a pretty combined effort to get those 6 rounds. No one kind of really dropping off into a worrying area. No one kind of carrying this team that would make you think there's just not enough teamwork going on. So pretty solid spread on those frags. OpTic is being led at the moment, the hard hitters, Config, Yugi towards the top, and actually Snappy is the one, leading the way, which is surprising in a way. He had some phenomenal flanks in that first half, 14 and 10 for him.
Yeah, could all come unstuck though on the CT side here for OpTic, and we were talking about it a little bit, but again, we haven't seen much from this OpTic roster, so there's not much to go off as far as the CT side is concerned. But here we go. We'll see whether they can start off with a pistol round. It could be a real big bonus for them. NiP have got something for us here, though. A couple of smokes have been invested in, so looks like it's going to be a fake over towards the A bomb site.
It does look like that, which is always scary when you invest so much in utility that's not going to be used for the main hit. Snappy and Config have a very dangerous crossfire at this B bomb site. If Config can just get 1 or 2 kills, take their attention away. There's the jump, there's the shots. They pause to fight. Snappy now around the corner. Draken expects it. He can't find the kill. Good return from Forrest, but they haven't secured the site. Cajun is here from Catwalk very quickly. Bomb is down in the site, and this is why it's so dangerous to use your utility elsewhere. No one from OpTic bites on that fake, and they're holding down the site very well.
Yeah, OpTic absolutely not bamboozled by that one at all. And that player coming up short so quickly was a real problem for NiP, but a sharp shot hit by Dennis, it keeps them in the round. Now into a 3 versus 3. It's still doable here for NiP, getting in those close angles with those blocks if they can make something happen here. In the end, though, it does look like OpTic might start to stabilize that ship a little bit as Yugi closes things out. And that's the pistol round for them in the second half. Dangerous times.
Yeah, both pistols won by OpTic, and even though NiP responded in the second in that first half, it didn't really matter as OpTic took it right back in the third. So great job from OpTic, holding their nerve, no one biting on that fake. I think Cajun was the biggest one, and he just kind of pushed out more towards Catwalk, but stayed in position where he could rotate back, and a three-man defense shut that hit down from NiP. It was basically a 3-on-3 at that bomb site. You're just not going to make too many entrances in that way.
Yep, not even a bomb planned out for NiP either, so it'll be the force buy into the second round here. They do have, again, some smokes out. This time, they will be setting themselves up for an A take. It's no longer the fake. There are two players situated in the bomb site, though, for OpTic, and NiP is going to have to dispatch of them quite quickly, which is not necessarily going to be so easy. Quite a lot of counter utility available for OpTic Gaming, and Config to take the first duel. In fact, it's actually Gade that gets the first kill, but Config is still here and alive, and a big thorn in the side of NiP. Inevitably, he does get taken down, but the damage has been done here to NiP, and it'll be really tough to get the bomb down from here on out.
Yeah, NiP need this plant, but they've got to play it patiently. They don't have secured bomb site. CT spawn is open, nade in towards Dennis. He's got the FAMAS, but he can't control it. Cajun takes him down in force, with the Deagle goes quietly. 11-6, OpTic have a big advantage in this game.
Yeah, OpTic negotiating that round quite nicely as well, only losing a couple of guns, and given the investment from NiP, you'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, the initial hold actually wasn't all that great, but so much damage was done, which made it much easier for the rotation to come in and clean things up. You can see Config had a couple assists on top of one kill, and that really made things easy for the guys coming over from mid of the B bomb site. Now NiP, without that plant especially, is just going to have to sit back on towards Glocks. No investment whatsoever, and it's looking like this might just be a desperation attack towards mid, maybe a split, but Config might just end that before it all begins. 3 players from NiP coming from underpass, but their teammates are going to be obliterated. Nice control of the SMG, and Yugi now rotating over. He wants to stat pad himself. He's going for the egos, and he's going to get dropped. And Config is here. He can still get that ace until Cajun jumps up and steals one away.
Yeah, just not much to that round really for OpTic. The flashbang into mid, and that's them a couple of kills, and at that point, 3 versus 5, what's NiP really going to be able to do from there on out? Again, not too bad of an anti-eco for OpTic Gaming, but this is where the real challenge now presents itself as NiP get buy through, their first buy through of the T side, but a big mountain to climb now, down 12-6.
A huge mountain to climb, if I'm honest. A double-up setup right off the bat for OpTic. Those SMGs helping them gain a lot of money. We knew Yugi was going to get one. Cajun's able to add on top of it. He's got that towards the A bomb site, going in towards connector. Again, Config going to drop down. Aggression in mid for OpTic. A 4-man hit towards this A bomb site. Dennis being the lurker in mid. We'll see if he can find anything. There's an awkward angle for Yugi, but he misses a shot. That's a critical shot. But Cajun goes back. He finds one in Palace and a second. He could build more, but Get Right silences him.
Still not a bad start to the round for OpTic. Another trade comes out, and that's what they need. 1 for 1 is good enough, and they have the player advantage. Bomb will go down, though, on the A bomb site for NiP. And Get Right and Draken now tasked. Never mind. It's just Draken. Tasked with the 1 versus 3. And a tough task ahead of him here as well. He doesn't have a smoke, he doesn't have a molly, he can't do anything as far as that bomb is concerned. Just the flashbang here and hiding away in that firebox. If there's an incendiary thrown out here by Config, that's going to be round over. Draken has been spotted, and there's just so many players to deal with. He's still alive, but inevitably he is going to go down. It's Config to get the kill with the AWP. And that's the defuse across for OpTic. A very good first gun round out from them as well. A great start from Cajun, and 13-6 now NiP. It almost feels like there's no chance that they're going to come back into this.
Yeah, that double-up setup was really painful. I think 4 kills at least with the AWPs. Not sure where Config's first came from, but there's no smokes. There's no flashbangs here for Cajun B, which is curious. I'm wondering if some of that action from Dennis kind of prompted them to hit that bomb site early before they really threw the utility, because Cajun was just able to stand in the open at the top of connector and get those 2 easy picks outside of Palace, and could have combined for a third on Get Right. 6-13 now is OpTic really running away with this one, and the desperation from NiP. They've got 5 AKs. They had 4 smokes coming into the round, and they're already down to just 1. So how are you going to make it into the bomb site? A lot of opportunities for these ops on OpTic.
Well, Dennis quickly up into connector, but he's made a bit of noise there, and Config very aware. Forrest able to get the trade back for Rez, but really at this point, OpTic are still looking a little bit better. NiP a bit worse for wear, having lost quite a bit of HP. Still, Forrest doesn't care, though. He's going to take that duel against Gade. It's just an absolute bloodbath right now here on Mirage. Just fights all across the map, and it's actually going the way of NiP, making their way now into the A bomb site. They know the position of Yugi. Draken just going to be watching the short angle, making sure that no one's going to be doing anything too concerning. Bomb will be planted here for NiP, and might have a story left to tell us here on Mirage.
OpTic really loving taking those fights with the M4s. The Ops really only able to get involved. Cajun got that first kill, but outside of that, I mean, you think the lack of utility would have allowed these Ops to just pick them apart, but it was NiP just getting in towards Connector, attacking up Catwalk. Forest finds 2, that's against the Riflers, and then the Ops have really awkward angles to peek into when NiP is holding them.
Pretty important actually for Yugi to save this AWP through here. You can see OpTic have got enough money to actually buy through if they save the AWP. If the AWP goes down, it's kind of a little bit more wishy-washy.
I think they have enough to buy no matter what happens, but obviously, yes, having this AWP on Yugi would allow the double AWP to continue. Snappy can drop one over, so they've obviously preferred to have that double AWP out. It's been effective as well. This is their first loss of the half.
But that was only the second gun round, so 50-50. At the moment, I guess
pretty good odds.
If you're OpTic, you'd be feeling pretty happy with 50-50.
You're a gambling man, flip that coin.
Yeah, win one round, lose one round. Eventually, you're going to get there. But for OpTic, the buy is going to come through. And again, it is going to be that double AWP out like we theorized. NiP, for their own right, this is a pretty important round for them. They can reset the economy of OpTic, put themselves in a position now to start coming back into this map. But should they drop this one, it's pretty much all over. They're going to be reset. This
is a critical round for NiP if they want to make this comeback happen. They absolutely need to take all the money away, and they have a chance here. Yugi boosted up in mid. No one's challenging quite yet, so this is tough to stay stacked up for that long, and Yugi's going to use the flash and the cover of that smoke to get back. Cajun's going to fall back towards the B bomb site as Snappy is pushed up aggressively. Rez is keeping his eyes on this, and no indication of what NiP wants to do. A default setup just meant to prevent any of the aggression, not take any damage. Cajun, excuse me, is going to really hamper that. Rez goes down, slides right into the op shot, and Snappy with that aggressive position. He can have a very fast flank on the timing. If he can read the plays, if he doesn't feel any pressure, he can really get a quick flank towards mid or that A bomb site.
Well, NiP out into mid. Cajun's been a really painful player to deal with for NiP once they moved on to this T side. It seems so many rounds he's been able to find that opening pick. Now for NiP, at least they have got control of mid, and they can go for an A split here. Got the player coming in through ramp. It's going to be slow and steady, though, for NiP. Not jumping the gun just yet. Yugi, has he spotted the info out there? I don't think that he did. But Config is locking down that angle regardless, and the flashbangs do come through now for NiP. Still no commitment, though, as inevitably they do have to push on forward. Yugi spots the first out, and Config through the smoke, being very cheeky, does find one, which really puts a spanner in the works now for NiP, as they only have the one player left. Forest will go down, and that's a great round to win for OpTic. Fantastic. It almost secures themselves the map. As we see NiP, their economy is in tatters.
Yeah, not a whole lot they can play with, but they almost have to buy. You don't want to let OpTic get to 15 at this point, and just a lot of players for NiP going down at range. OpTic able to pick enough people off and take enough of the bite out of that hit, and eventually just bleed NiP out of players. 14-7, OpTic have doubled up NiP's scoreline. And still that double op reigns supreme. They survived that economic troubles, that economic ice age, as they were on the brink of being reset, but OpTic now in firm control of this match. And I mean, for coming into this, I think we all kind of said NiP, certainly with the way they've looked recently with the new lineup of OpTic, that NiP would be the favorites, and they are getting absolutely battered in this opening match.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have said NiP. I think we're going to get the 2-0 actually today.
Now, this is OpTic's pick as well, so maybe one of the first maps they've really worked on as this five-man unit, and obviously looking a little bit more comfortable on it than many of us expected, but still a surprising result nonetheless.
I mean, I guess if you were going to look at any map in the pool right now, Mirage would probably not be a bad one, given the prevalence of the map right now in the meta. But NiP, they're certainly struggling at the moment, and the force buy is through. So Galil out for Get Right, UMP for Rez, and an aggressive push here for Config. It's shut down by Dennis. Always seems good for one with that CZ.
Yeah, nice find. Good read of the play. Yugi trying to spam through the smoke to get another. He's got to be careful. He's got a couple players coming beneath him from underpass. Look at how this forces the defense to play over at the A bomb site without any kind of presence in mid or top connector. Gate has to kind of play back towards Ticket Booth. He just pushes forward as Yugi rotates over to be that second defender. Gate is designed to keep space, but the boost up. Rez is going to assassinate anyone he chooses. Cajun's aware of the possibility, but it's all, oh, this is a rough spot. Rez needed to keep moving. Now he's at an awkward timing, and he gets picked off. He really needed to keep pushing forward. He got caught out in the open, and now the entire round is going to collapse for NiP. They don't have a whole lot to stand on, and Yugi can just peek in towards Connector with impunity. Drake in a lot to do, but the op is just too strong.
Yeah, what could have been there for NiP, but for another couple of seconds. Unfortunately, it's all going to fall by the wayside for the T side now. It's just Dennis in a 1v3, doesn't even have control of the bomb, and not a huge amount of time to play with either. I mean, there's enough, But this is going to have to be one mammoth of a clutch if he does close it out. Doesn't even have an AK to work with, so that makes the job even more difficult.
He only has 30 seconds as well, so if he walks this whole way, he's got to start running, and what he's scared about is someone on catwalk hearing that information. But if he doesn't, I mean, the only other option you have is to maybe save this M4 for the next round. 20 seconds, he's got to get on his horse now. Snappy just waiting, and there's not enough time to clear this corner out. This is going to be essentially a free kill for Snappy, as Dennis just has to risk it. And it's not going to work. That's the 15th for OpTic. They've got 8 map points in this opening map of a losers match series. Loser goes home.
It's been really solid, actually, from OpTic. There's been nothing particularly flashy about how this game has been played out from them on the T side or even on the CT side, but it's just been good, solid Counter-Strike. They've been setting themselves up on their angles, and the AWPs, the double AWP has been so fantastic for OpTic Gaming on this CT side, and NiP haven't found a way to deal with it.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. And that's kind of the crazy thing, is that you'd think NiP would have had the experience to maybe come back from that. The tough part is they've had some real economic problems throughout this whole map. You go back to the CT side, the defensive side, they really haven't had too much money to play with. Config going to distract these players in Palace. One underneath the balcony, that's Gade. And now he's going to peek out Yugi. Took out Dennis, who is checking this position, but still, Gade's only able to get the one.
Here, NiP now staring down the barrel of defeat on map 1. They've got the player disadvantage. They're on map point for OpTic Gaming. Draken comes in with a pretty important kill there, but immediately traded back out by Yugi. So it's just solid right now for OpTic Gaming. Trades backwards and forwards, though the same can be said for NiP with those Deagles. They're making things happen. The bomb as well, rotating over to B, so there's something a little bit spicy left in this round.
Forrest has a really tough job. He's got to maintain presence, but survive. That's not going to happen whatsoever. Bomb is going to be planted, but Rez on 3 HP. He's got a lot of time to stay alive. He's going to try and get this plant. He really wanted this to be a one-on-one. Smoke to try and confuse his opposition, and Snappy, not aware quite yet, but he's going to turn the corner, and Rez again has just barely missed the opportunity to sink down this defense, to take some of the elements of it out, and now the game is lost though, but Rez jumps through the window.
And he managed to survive there as well. Yugi can't get the trade in time, and the Wonderkind for NiP, we saw it yesterday on Inferno. A chance, but it's going to go by the wayside as OpTic Gaming will be able to close it out. A good shot hit by Yugi, and it's 16-7 in the end. Map 1 goes the way of OpTic Gaming.
A nice victory from OpTic, and pretty much an exclamation point on that CT side. They go 7 for 1. NiP not able to get anything going on the offense, and the defense was just a scattered affair as they tried to recover from repeated resets of their economy. A really well put together game plan from OpTic.
Certainly makes this series a little bit more interesting now as well. OpTic in the lead, 1-0. We're going to head to a break, but map 2 will be coming up in just a sec.